Hi, it's me. I haven't done this in a long time, as many of you probably know, based on my video history. There's a lot of reasons for that, and this actually does pertain to the topic of this video, which is parenting as an individual with Asperger's. Now, we know that there's many blogs and videos about Asperger's itself, and being a parent to a child with Asperger's, but I haven't seen a whole lot of stuff on what it's like being a parent who has Asperger's or is somewhere on the ASD spectrum, since the DSM-5 changed the spectrum dramatically in eliminating the Asperger's title itself and instead putting it on the ASD spectrum. Anyways, so I do hope that I can provide some insight as to what it's like being a parent with Asperger's. I will say that, as a rule, all moms and dads have pros and cons. We all have flaws and things that make us who we are. I will say that probably the biggest con of mine is my sensory overload issues. I get overwhelmed a lot quicker than, say, my neurotypical peers, which means, for those who don't know the lingo in the ASD community, that neurotypical means you don't have Asperger's or even ADHD or whatever other so-called disorder, so to speak. I will also say that I am not like other women who will happily do all of the household chores, do all the nightly feedings, which thank God my son doesn't have any of those really. Like ever. Thank God. Anyway, and I'm not the type who's gonna do all the cleaning and do all the childcare and tend to the house and all that other junk like some other parents might, assign to the mom, and mom wears a smile the whole time, which isn't me. Thankfully, I am not in that kind of relationship where that is fully expected of me. Otherwise, my boyfriend would have been out the door a long time ago. But no, he's awesome, but that's not the topic of this video. I do stress out hardcore when I'm overwhelmed, and he does understand it, so I am the kind of mom that does need, a more supportive partner like I have. Someone who is going to step in and do cleaning, like even just a powder room, or wiping off the stove when someone's done cooking, or, just doing the dishwasher. Simple things like that. I'm not the kind of person that's going to just take it all on me just because society expects that of me, which is just pretty... Well, if you can't do it, you can't do it. I'm not going to go doing that to myself. Unlike other moms, or even dads, I wasn't overwhelmed with joy, and I didn't shed tears when my son was born. I'm like, oh my god, I'm holding my baby, finally. No. And I wasn't the type who had a million pictures uploaded on my Facebook and other social media showing off my pregnant belly, like, this is me at 6 months, or 12 weeks, or whatever people do. And quite frankly, I only have a few pictures of me when I was pregnant. I will say that those are not happy days of being pregnant because of my sensory overload issues. I don't relish the memories of having swollen ankles, a big belly, and just generally being all achy and getting headaches and things like that, with having high blood pressure and everything. I don't relish those memories. No. Nope. I'm gonna nope on out of that one again, I think, at least for a long time. I did actually meet a girl who decided to get a mold done of her pregnant belly. Whatever floats her boat, but it sure doesn't float mine. And when I was pregnant, my hypersensitive hearing just upped up a few notches, and those days were not cool. Definitely not cool, especially the first trimester. Wasn't my sense of smell, it was my hearing, which was a big cause of my meltdowns as a child. Well, anyway, so I was also a lot more concerned when pregnant about having things like a good job before my son was born, because I was a part-time cashier when I first found out, and that was not a very good time to be pregnant. No, that's supposed to be, according to society standards, you're supposed to have a good job, get married, then have children last. I mean, it is what it is. Would have been nice to have a good job at the very least before I ever got pregnant, but we all know that life likes to throw curveballs at us, and life doesn't always go in a specific order, no matter how hard we try. But I did find something, thank God. That was a lot less stress. It's not the best job, it's not the best paying job, but it is enough to keep a decent roof over the head and, provide things like a 401k and whatever. But anyway, so I do remember one day I was talking to a coworker about, how I have a young child. She was relatively new at the time. She's about 10 years older than me. Was thinking about having children, so that's how that topic was brought up. And I do remember one day she was talking about vaccinations. Now, mind you, this video is not about my stance on vaccinations. I'm not here to discuss the pros and the cons and telling you whether or not you should get them done, because that's not what this video is about. But I do want to touch on that topic real quick, because I do think that since I am a parent with Asperger's, I do think I have a unique perspective on the topic, and since I'm talking about parenting, I kind of feel like I should bring up the topic of vaccinations, given my position and stance on things. So, when she was telling me about how she read some things and studies about how the MMR vaccination supposedly causes autism, you can probably imagine my thoughts, thinking, okay, why do you think that it causes autism? And quite frankly, I was a little bit offended, not so much about, oh yeah, I have Asperger's and you must be making fun of me. No, but it's just kind of more like, what's wrong with people who are a little bit different from, say yourself. Just because someone's a little bit different doesn't mean that they're in the wrong or something. After she said, do not give your son the MMR shot, he will develop autism, in a pretty panicked tone of voice, I actually proceeded to tell them I was actually diagnosed with autism as a young child, which was a pretty big shock to them. Because at work, I'm known as the person that is somewhat well versed with some things medically related, and I just know a lot about life sciences, even though, unlike a lot of my coworkers, I don't possess a bachelor's degree in biology or something related. Although I hope to be in that position in the next couple of years. But I definitely do know a fair bit, and I do individual studying, and I actually don't rely on, natural news blogs or whatever as my only source of information, unlike some people. And I did go on to tell her that I was that kid people see freaking out in the grocery store from sensory overload, not liking fluorescent lights, which to this day I still can't stand. And I did have a meltdown or two in the middle school classroom because of having problems with the fluorescent lights and the children being loud and, ugh. Not days I want to remember exactly. I have learned much better to manage my sensory overload issues. Like, I don't have those screaming meltdowns anymore. And I do have more social skills than I did when I was a young child. But this doesn't go on without me saying that I definitely do still struggle with these things, and sometimes I can lose my patience a lot quicker than, say, the so-called neurotypical mom. But, you know, I'm okay with that, actually, because realistically speaking, all parents have their limits. All children have their limits. Everybody has their limits and tolerances and thresholds and whatnot of different things they can handle. And quite frankly, I don't think it's realistic to try my damnness, pardon my French, to hide all my flaws from my child. I think my son has the right to know what I can and cannot tolerate from him or anyone else, really. When my coworker at the time was talking about the MMR vaccination and talking about, oh, if you get the MMR shot, your child's going to get autism. And when I was talking to her about my own Asperger's and everything else, I didn't really say that it offended me. I did, however, say, why autism of all things? What is it about autism that makes people so afraid of having a child with autism? So I sat on it overnight and I was thinking, why is it autism that makes people so worried? And why Asperger's? Why the autism spectrum of all things? Even though about, what was it, like a decade ago, was ADHD is what everyone was afraid of back then. I don't know. Maybe next decade it might be bipolar disorder, which seems to be a new upcoming trend for what to be the most afraid of, or whatever you want to call it. So I got to thinking about it, and I realized that I wasn't offended by her remarks because of her making fun of me or in other people with autism or Asperger's, whatever you want to call it. It made me think about the fact that we are a society that just cannot accept people who have different intellectual, emotional, and physical differences. I mean, we all have a role in life. We don't all have to be some cookie-cutter corporate executive type that makes a lot of money and is emotionally negligent towards their children. If anything, I think that being that kind of person and having everyone be that kind of person just makes life very dull, and we would, quite frankly, I hate to say it, I think we would still be living in caves if we were all the same like that. I mean, not all of us are meant to, be a corporate accountant or a CEO or doctor, lawyer, or whatever. Not all of us are meant to be some highly respectable member of society, so to speak, because, oh my god, ambition, we gotta do something that makes us a lot of money because money means success, right? According to some people. Which I don't believe. That's just very silly. There's really no no such thing as money buying happiness. It certainly makes people happier by having less bills to worry about and having those things taken care of. But I think there's some kind of Harvard study or one of those other Ivy League schools that said that pretty much people reach their happiness threshold when they're making about $70,000 a year, and then it doesn't really go up much at all after that, if any at all. I mean, obviously that differs person to person, but, you know, that's not what this video is about. It's kind of about, you know, the fact that all of us have differences in how we parent and who we are as people, and the fact that some people just can't accept the fact that different people have children, whether or not we like it. I actually read a little snippet story in the book Quiet by Susan Cain. Really good book. I would totally recommend it, especially if you have Asperger's or you're just an introvert. Or an introverted extrovert, whatever you are. If you have any introverted traits, then I would recommend it. Someone was talking about this married couple, that cookie cutter type that I just talked about, you know, executive corporate types, and who made a lot of money, aggressive, super extroverted, getting angry at rush hour traffic at 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. every single day. Those kind of people. And they have a quiet child who is their oldest son, and they went to the therapist because they were concerned about the fact that this boy was letting his younger brother just push him around and hit him and do all this and that and kind of beat him up, so to speak. But this is mostly because the boy thought it was pointless to just, you know, fight all the time, and doesn't think that, you know, I must be this way, and I'm not a very competitive person. That was his point of view, and he felt that his parents are just different from who he is. And so is his brother and other people. We are who we are. Can't really change that. His parents, however, didn't really accept him for who he was, and they went to a therapist to try to make him be more outgoing and aggressive and stand up for yourself kind of person. I mean, I don't really know, and neither does the author of the book, how that story turned out, but I can't imagine it ending well, because it's kind of like with conversion therapy, that actually damages people more than it helps. Some things just are meant to be, whether or not somebody likes it. Well, quite frankly, they're not walking in their shoes, so it shouldn't be their problem, if you ask me. It is, after all, the introverted people, like that quiet boy, who come up with better technologies, and who even invented, like, the phone I'm recording this video on. The computers we use, like, you may be using to watch this video, for example. Someone who is introverted came up with the internet. Someone who was an innovator even came up with the first computer. Somebody who didn't do the cookie cutter thing came up with networks, and boom, the age of technology was born. Was it by the executive cookie cutter type of parents that I described just moments ago? No. It was the kind of person like that quiet boy who let his younger, more aggressive brother push him around that did that. Now, why on earth people want us all to be like those executive, corporate type of parents? Well, all of us want to see our children be happy, do well for ourselves, be well fed, have a good roof over our head, be married if someone wants to be, have children again if they want, and just generally do well for themselves and not have to struggle day to day just to have those things. But, the truth is, all of us have a role in life that's our own specifically. We're not all meant to work 9 to 5 as a lawyer or doctor, therapist. I mean, somebody's got to do night shifts. Somebody's got to do the less popular work. Some of us have to do the low-wage jobs. Some of us have to do the higher-wage jobs. I mean, we all have our role in life, and whatever that role is, as long as we're happy and not going on serial killing sprees or otherwise harming others or animals or anything, well, why worry? That's their life, not ours. We are who we are. Now, I know that people like my coworker don't mean any harm when they talk about why autism is this horrific thing and is who on earth wants an autistic child. They don't mean any harm, and they want to see people do well in life, like I just said. However, this does go to show that they have a lot less tolerance for different people than they want to realize. It's very subconscious, and it's probably thanks to our, mainstream media and everything pushing these images into our brain from a young age. Honestly, though, it is kind of ironic, though, because a lot of those people don't realize that if there weren't people like myself, maybe you, or your friend, or family member, whoever, if it weren't for the people who took the road less traveled, like people like myself have, honestly, a lot of us wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here because of the technologies that the people behind the scenes, so to speak, have made possible, like airplanes, boats, computers, modern medicine, things like that actually make it possible for more people from different backgrounds and different medical conditions and everything to go on and live as long as they can and do what they gotta do in life. It is kind of depressing, though, knowing that people are afraid of Asperger's because of the fact that we just think differently and we act differently, and we're not as concerned about what the Kardashians wore to this party and things like what our First Lady Melania, is it? Trump wore to the inauguration ball. Quite honestly, I don't care. I'm not the one wearing that dress. I'm not the one that's on camera. That's her life, not mine. I mean, I just don't care about things like that. I really don't. I care more about things like teaching my son the value of being able to eat with your own two hands and walking on your own 2 feet, being able to read and being able to actually just do things on your own, and not have to understand the struggle like I did of not knowing how to read and teaching myself how to read. Like, I don't want him to really struggle the way I did. He is going to understand the value of doing things like I just described on his own without needing someone else's help. He is going to understand the value of that. I don't want him to be that kid that wears overpriced American Eagle jeans, t-shirts that give companies like Aeropostale free advertising, which they should be paying us to do, really. I mean, they wouldn't in most other circumstances, and him being also the kind of kid on top of that who wears the best Nike or Adidas sneakers that are appropriate for athletes, even though they haven't stepped foot on a basketball court or been on the playground in years because they're stuck texting on their phones and such all day long. He isn't going to be the kind of person that is going to just be a conformist who thinks what society wants him to think, who acts the way society wants him to think. He's not going to be some cookie cutter person, because he's going to understand that, you know what, if it weren't for those types who just travel the less commonly traveled path, a lot of us would not be here to this day, and we wouldn't all be here to share thoughts like this on the internet. He will also understand the value of things like being a good person, volunteering to help animals cope from living in horrific conditions, and the value of things like giving someone a little bit of gas money because they need to go to work and they rent out a block away from a gas station, which is bad timing, but anyway, the point is that he is going to know the value of the important things in life, not about getting the most expensive college degree and digging himself a deeper hole for it. He's gonna know the value of just being a well-rounded, good person, not, some cookie cutter image that all parents want for their children. I mean, I may not be the type that makes perfect meals every night and keeps the home perfectly clean, or does all the childcare work and is generally gonna freak out if he scrapes his knee or something. I'm not that kind of mom. I do have a lot more limitations for what I can do and tolerate. And I may not necessarily promote things that other parents do, like, going to college, marrying a good boy or girl, having children, and all that other stuff. No, I'm going to encourage him to be who he is and what he wants to be. As long as it doesn't entail doing the crazy crap that's going to make him end up in prison for some notorious crime. Nope, as long as he doesn't harm other people, harm other sentient beings like animals and everything else just for the sheer joy of it. As long as he's not doing anything crazy and isn't, quite frankly, a parasite in this world, I'm okay with that. I don't care what he does for a living when he gets older. I don't care what kind of clothes he wants to wear, as long as it doesn't, gouge mom and dad's wallet. But I mean, I'm also not afraid to play games with children, even if it makes me look like I'm immature or everything. Which, I have a child like mine, because I remember things from my childhood like it was yesterday, but at the end of the day, I'm okay with that. I quite honestly don't care what most other people think of me. They don't live my life, they don't pay my bills. I just don't care. I mean, why should I? They're not living my life. I am. They have their own lives to attend to, their own business. But, they're not, you don't see me saying too much to them, so why should they do the same to me? I mean, I may not do all of the household work, and I may not do all the childcare on my own, because, let's just face it, this is 2017, not 1950. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do show my son affection, which is a problem for people with Asperger's. It can be hard for me at times when I'm stressed, especially, or just generally need me time that I need more of than other people might. But I do show him the care and everything he needs when we are together, and that's what counts. Quality over quantity, I think, is what the saying is. I may not be the best multitasker like other typical moms, but when I do things right, I believe in doing it nice or doing it twice. Which is not always a good thing to do, but anyway, I mean, things like socializing him with younger children his age and everything, this is something that I do struggle with, which maybe it could impact his socializing skills or not, I don't know. I also am a little terrified of letting other young children over here when watching one child is enough for me anyway. But at the end of the day, all any of us parents really are obligated to do is give our child food, clothes, a roof over their head, good hygiene, and that's pretty much it. We don't need to give them fancy phones, tablets, computers, the best clothes. We don't need to give them all that stuff. What matters isn't so much the materialistic stuff, it's what comes from in here and in here. He is going to know what matters in life. He is going to know how to respect his elders. His father is going to teach him how to fix cars and do things like that. He's going to learn to be an independent man. He's not going to be the type of person who can't think for himself. He's going to know the importance of being a good person, and he's going to know what it means to maybe be a good father one day if he wants to be, a good husband if he wants to be. He's not going to be some corporate drone who just does what he's told just because it'll mean he brings home a lot of money. No, that's not what I want. I mean, maybe my parents wanted me to, bring in a bunch of money at this point, but quite honestly, it's up to me what I do with my life. It's up to all of us to do what we want with our lives. Well, little man's actually waking up from his nap soon. I can hear him moving around more. Anyways, with that being said, I do appreciate your watching this video again. I would like to start making more of these again. I do miss making these. And I admit it can be a little bit hard coming up with what to say at times, especially being someone with Asperger's. And just generally just coming up with other topics can be hard, since I have a 35-hour per week job and, was trying to figure out a lot of things in my life before, and that's kind of why I took a break from doing these videos, to try to figure out my life. But perhaps this kind of thing is more what I'm supposed to do than, do the typical thing like I tried doing, which has been going okay, but I'd like to do stuff like this more too, just since people actually appreciate what I have to say. I have read comments on my other videos, and I have to admit I'm very surprised to see how much feedback my videos really have gotten over the years, and still to this day. Not, people commenting for a little bit and then no one really pays attention anymore because it's not on the top of the news feed for their subscriptions or whatever. I do appreciate your watching this. I really do. I do apologize again for not having done this in a long time. I know some of you have been disappointed in not seeing me on here for a long time, which it humbles me a bit. It really does. I've always considered myself to be someone not to be jealous of or not to, admire, because I haven't really accomplished that much in life, but then again, maybe that's not what really matters. It's just I guess what matters more is just being able to relate to one another and letting people know that their struggles are not entirely unique to them, and maybe just showing them that people of all backgrounds, have, with all kinds of medical conditions, labels, whatever you want to call it, just, I guess it's a good thing that people of all backgrounds and who have walked all kinds of paths in life can, end up in the same spot as you. Being a parent, having a job that provides enough. And well, I hope to see you soon again. Thank you again for watching this. I hope this provided you with some insights as to what someone with Asperger's can provide as a parent and as a member of society even. Thank you for watching this, and I hope to see you soon. Alright, bye.